Public budgets can have a life of their own, even if they've outlived their effectiveness. The European Parliament is looking at ways to rip out the deadwood and redirect funding with greater effectiveness. It's called performance-based budgeting, and the EPP Group has a position paper on it. The group votes on the paper at a meeting in Prague this week on how to improve on the European Commission's efforts to make sure that budget items actually stimulate growth, jobs, and competitiveness, and that they respond to evolving needs, including emergencies like the refugee crisis. Marian-Jean is the EPP Group vice chair in charge of budget and structural policies. He says EU budgets under the Multi-Annual Financial Framework, or MFF, should be more flexible to have more impact.
EPP Group should want to see more results. So the evaluation of the budget should be on results. We should not change the regulations of the European policy each time with the occasion of each new MFF. We should have a basis, and then we should add chapters for the actual situation.
Marinescu says billions in fines the EU collected were redirected to deal with the waves of migrants, but not without a fight.
It was a very difficult negotiation to use part of this money for the refugees crisis, because the member states wanted to have the money back in their budget.
Performance-based budgeting requires rigorous checks as well, working with the member states, which manage 80% of EU spending. Last year, thanks to watchdog action by the Commission, the EU recovered and redirected 4.7 billion euros, or more than 3% of all payments made that year. Marinescu says checks should be better targeted and focused.
The control should be should be done on risk basis, so high risk, high strong control, low risk, low control, and I think that the focus should be in the results. We need to add value to each euro invested from the EU.
How to assess those results? Marinescu says sometimes it's quality, not quantity.
We should not base our evaluation only on the number of jobs, but the high profile of jobs and the duration of the jobs. If there is a permanent, it's a reliable job.
And how can this kind of budgeting impact different sectors? Ludek Niedermeyer is an EPP Group member of the Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee.
Performance-based budgeting is basically about looking at the results, not just at the procedures that someone has decided that some money should come to farming, to research, some to industry, and done. In performance-based budgeting, you should be constantly reviewing the outcomes and based on the outcomes deciding about the future. So on one hand, it's uncomfortable for those who are not spending money properly, but on the other hand, it should give the chance to people that are really delivering the result.
The Commission, working with this and other input from the European Parliament and member states, is to come up with a policy paper in the first half of 2016. It will propose ways to sharpen the EU's policy on performance-based budgeting. Performance-based budgeting is something many governments are working on. An OECD study says what's key is the support of political leaders and to develop incentives for both civil servants and politicians to practice what they preach. That's why the role of the Parliament here is so vital to make that happen. Find out more about the activities of the largest political force in Parliament by checking eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.